Hi everyone, my name is Alchemy and my train number is 2799673. A flood is an overflow of water that summons land that is usually dry. In the sense of flowing water, the word may also be applied to in the inflow of the tide. Floods are an area of study of the discipline hydrology and are of significant cases in agriculture, civil engineering, and public health. Human change to the environment often increase the intensity and frequency of flooding. For example, land use change such as deforestation and removal of wetland, change in waterway course, or flood control such as with livings, and larger environmental issues such as climate change and sea level rise. In 2010, there was a flood in my hometown, Jitrakedah. The cause of occurrence are rain. Rain is the leading contributor to most of the flooding case witnessed across the world. Too much rain causes water to flow over land, contributing to flooding. In particular, this is due to high rainfall intensity over a prolonged period. Depending on the rainfall distribution, the amount of rain and soil moisture content, short rainfall period can also result in flooding. Light rain for longer periods, several days or weeks, can also result in flood. The rainwater erosion force can weaken the foundation of building, causing timber and crash. Next is river erosion. Frequent river erosion is caused by two factors, namely naturally occurring erosion and human domestic waste disposal. Natural factors occur when it rains heavily, water will flow heavily and erode the river bank. Eventually, the cliff soil will collapse from a sediment and at the bottom of the river. Next, the river will be shallow. Similarly, human activity that like dam domestic waste such as garbage and industrial waste into the river can cause the river to become shallow and the flow of water is blocked. When heavy rain falls, rivers that have become shallow due to natural erosion or pollution cannot hold or drain large amount of rainwater. Eventually, the river water will overflow onto the banks, and with this flooding will occur. Next is what to do before, during, and after a flood. Before a flood, I will put the important document in a waterproof container and store in a safe place. Maintain adequate food and water supply, and before moving, I will prepare the most important basic necessity. And during flood, I will be careful not to touch any drop cables and wires. Make sure that important documents are not immersed in water, and carry this important document and move home appliances to the highest position in the house. After a flood, I will check the condition of the house to ensure that it is safe to live in, and check the drying power supply, handling of short food, include canned food, and report damage to public property to the authorities. The impact of flood on me is power supply can be destroyed, position can be damaged and washed away, and the last is we have to move up our property until flood damage is repaired.
A few moments later.
Now I want to ask for my sister about her experience for the flood. Hi sister, do you have any experience with flood, and in what year?
Hi, I have experience in 2010.
Okay, now can I ask you something, which is, what do you do before, during and after the flood?
Oh, okay. For the before a flood occurs, I will make sure that drainage channels around the house are not blocked, ensure the location of the evacuation centers, and put the important documents in a waterproof container and store in safe places and before moving. Besides that, I also will prepare the most important basic necessity. During the floods, I will be transferred to the flood reliance center during the days and before the flood situation worsens. I will also remind my family not to play in the water outside the house and move the home application to the highest position in the house, and will always follow the development of the flow situation through radios and televisions. After the flow, first I will check the condition of the house to ensure that it is safe to live in, and enter the house carefully and make sure to wear the shoes. I also will make sure the house is free of harmful animals and use the wood to remove items scattered on the floor.
Next question is, do you know what impact of flood or the impact on you?
What I know about the impact of the flood and the impact on me are people can be injured or killed by the floodings, transport networks and can be effects such as flood damage to the bridge, railways and roads, and homes and properties can be flooded.
Oh, okay, that's all for my question. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Good morning, madam. My name is CHEONG. The metric number is 277491. A landslide is defined as the movement of the mass of the rock, the base of the earth down a slope. Landslides are the type of the mass weighting which donated any downslope movement of the soft and rock under the direct influence of the gravity. The term landslide encompasses 5 modes of the slope movement: fall, prospect, slide, sprint, and flow. They are the further subdivided by the type of geology, material. The base flow and rock flow are the example of the common landslide type. Landslides have the 3 major causes: geology, morphology, and human activity. Geology refers to the characteristic of the material is damp. The earth or rock may be weak or fractured, or different layers may have different strength and stiffness. Morphology refers to the structure of the land. For example, slopes that lost their vegetation to fire or drought are more variable to landslide. Vegetation holds soil in place and builds up the root system of the tree, bushes, and other plants. The lands are more likely to slide away. Human activities such as agriculture and construction can increase the risk of the landslide. Irrigation, deforestation, excavation, and water leakage are some of the common activities that can help the destabilization or weaken a slope. What to do before a landslide? First, do not build near steep slopes close to the mountain, near drainage wells or natural erosion veins. Second, landslides occur where they have before and in identifiable hazard locations. Third, watch the pattern of slope water drainage near your house, and note the place where runoff water cover increased flow in channel. There are areas to avoid during a slope. Fourth, plant ground cover on slope and build retaining wall. What to do during a landslide? First, stay alert and aware. Many debatable fatalities occur when people are sleeping. Third, be aware that intense short bursts of rain may be particularly dangerous, especially after longer periods of heavily rainfall and damp weather. Third, a depth of flowing or falling mud or debris may precede largest landslide. Moving debris can fall quickly and sometimes without warning. Such things may indicate landslide activity upstream, so be prepared to move quickly. Don't be delayed. Save yourself, not your belongings. What to do after a landslide? First, stay away from the slide area. There may be dangers of additional slide. Second, help a neighbor who may request special assistance. Elderly people and people with the disability. Elderly people and people with disability may request additional assistance. People who care for them or who have the largest family may need additional assistance in emergency situations. Third, look for and report broken utility line and damaged roadway to appropriate authority. Landslides occur all over the world and have different effects on people, buildings, animals, and landscape. The effect landslides have on humans are property damage, injury, and even die. Water supplies, fisheries, forests, dams, and roadway can be damaged and affected for the year. The effects landslides have on the animals are that landslides disrupt their habitat, and animals will have double fighting food since the landslide would ruin their habitat and put off washes down plants and bushes. If animals are around when a landslide is happening, a largest object could land on the animal and kill it. When landslides occur, plants like can be washed down the slope, and it can also ruin or destroy the plant life. For my experience about landslide is 2 years ago, my village was happened landslide. The landslide was happened near my house. The house is my grandparents' house. The landslide was suddenly happened. My grandparents' house some part was covered by mud because it was raining that day. Just to be safe, we temporarily moved away from our house to a safe place. After a few days, we go back to our house. We saw our grandparents' house have some part was covered by mud. My parents decided that we take some money to repair the house. Luckily, do not have any injury or die. What is your experience about landslide?
I also have an experience on landslide. 2 years ago, a landslide happened in my village. I remember that that day weather is very bad. The whole day is raining, and in the evening, the landslide suddenly happened near my house. My grandparents' house suffered from this landslide. Half of my grandparents' house was covered by soil and the mud. The firemen advised us that we can temporarily move away from our house to a safety place because they estimate that the rain will continue a few days and maybe a landslide will happen again. And my family and I decided to move away from our house. After a few days, we go back to the house and do the cleaning activity. My family also need to use the extra money to repair my grandparents' house, which suffered a landslide. But luckily, there is no injury and die in this accident.